We Should Talk About This may contain graphic descriptions and/or explicit content that may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Hi, I'm Key,
And I'm V.
and this is We Shouldn't Talk About This.
Key, for today's episode, what do you think we should touch on?
I think we should talk about political embezzlements, people who have perpetrated political embezzlements.
That's pretty interesting. I myself am not too familiar with politics, but I did find a very, very, very unique case that we could talk about.
Okay, as did I. I actually heard this story first on American Greed, which is one of my favorite shows. So I wanted to look into it a bit and maybe tell the listeners who don't frequent American Greed as much as I do a little story.
All right, you may begin.
Okay, well, gather around, children. It's time for a tale of crime. So, the subject of my story is Rita A. Crundwell. Now, Rita began working for Dixon, which is in Illinois. It's a city in Illinois outside of Chicago. She began working for Dixon's finance department in 1970 while she was still in high school. And she was appointed as the comptroller slash treasurer in 1983. Now, she handled all the finances for the city of Dixon because the city did not have a city manager. Now, let's take a little stroll to December 18th, 1990. So she's been comptroller for 7 years at this point. She opened a secret bank account, which she alone controlled, in the name of the city of Dixon. The name of the account was the RSCDA Reserve Fund. The initial stood for Reserve Sewer Capital Development Account, with the city of Dixon as the primary account holder, and RSCDA, care of Rita Crundwell, as the second account holder. But there was no such account that existed for the city. And with Dixon's failure to segregate its duties, this allowed Rita to set up and operate a fairly simple fraud scheme.
That sounds pretty interesting already, like to start a bank account with the city's name on it.
Yeah, now, from what I researched, that was like how they did it. Like, the city had different accounts for different things. So with nobody checking on what she was doing, I guess after 7 years, she was like, I wonder if I can finagle some money out of this situation. Which is why you should always have checks and balances. So I'm about to go on a tangent here. This is why, even in my younger years, when I was a wee lass, I never trusted Santa Claus. Because how does he get to make the list and then he checks it twice? There's nobody else going over this list. It should be like he's making a list and his wife is double checking it for accuracy, and maybe a couple else to find out if you're naughty or nice. Like,
Yeah, that's an ethical red X right there.
Right, definite red flag. Like, one person should not be doing all the work when it comes to making these type of decisions. So anyway, I'm on to you, Santa. To conceal what she was doing, she would pick up the city's mail, including all the bank statements for the RSCDA account, to prevent other employees from learning about this account. When she was away, she would get a relative or another city employee to pick up the mail and separate any of her mail, which, since she was listed as the treasurer, the RSCDA would come to her as her mail. So they would separate all her mail, including the RSCDA account mail, from the rest of the city's mail. Now, Rita began transferring money from city accounts to RSCDA account in January of 91. So she set up the account in December of 90, and pretty quickly she was funneling money. Subsequently, she used her position as comptroller to transfer funds from Dixon's money market account and various other city accounts to its capital development fund account. She then repeatedly transferred city funds from the capital development account into the RSCDA account and used the money to pay for her personal and private business expenses, including horse farming operations, personal credit card payments, real estate, and vehicles. So she was creating fictitious invoices purported to be from the state of Illinois to show the city's auditors that the funds she was fraudulently depositing into the RSCDA account were being used for legitimate purposes. And the amount of invoices she generated was somewhere between 159 to 179, depending on what source you read. Now, guess how much money she stole? Like, I haven't said how long she was doing this, but give us a ballpark on how much you think she stole over the entirety of the embezzlement.
Over the entirety?
Right, now keep in mind, this is a little city in Illinois, outside of Chicago.
Okay.
Not a big, not Chicago,
Not Chicago.
not a New York, no
Yeah.
huge city.
Okay. All right, I'll say 128,000.
Final answer?
Final answer.
You poor sweet boy. Over the entirety of the embezzlement, she stole more than $53 million from the city.
Oh my goodness.
Using the proceeds to finance her quarter horse farming business and a life of luxury. It's believed to be the largest theft of public funds in state history.
That is insane. In the whole state of Illinois.
Yes.
That is insane.
Probably in the United States, for
Yeah.
public funds, stealing from a city.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
$53 million. So, now, here's where she loses, cool points. While she was taking in these large sums of money, she participated in budget meetings with the city council members and various city department heads, and she repeatedly said that the city's lack of funds was due to a downturn in the economy and because the state of Illinois was behind in its payments. Yeah, it's behind because you're stealing all the money, Rita. So...
she's just in the background holding her mouth like, oh dear, this is terrible. This is so terrible.
Pretty much, the economy is in shambles. We have no money. But hey, look at my prize-winning quarter horses over here.
Yeah.
So, over the course of the fraud, the amounts of money she embezzled gradually increased. The first year, 1991, Rita transferred around $181,000 to the RSCDA account. Now, that built up and built up until she really went all out in 2008 when she stole the highest amount, which was $5.8 million in 1 year.
Oh my goodness.
So this would be an average of more than $2.5 million over the 20-year period. It took her 20 years to do it. But $2.5 a year over the 20-year period. And on top of that, she was making an $80,000 annual salary. So it's not like she was getting paid chump change.
Right. Oh my gosh.
So, what was that fee? What was she doing with the money? I'll tell you. Rita, she had built trust with the community by building her large quarter horse breeding operation that employed many of the residents. And it was called RC Quarter Horses. Very, simple. No need to be outlandish at this point, I guess. Now, this turned out to be one of the best known quarter horse breeding operations in the country. Her horses won 52 world championships, and the AQHA, which was the American Quarter Horse Association, named her Breeder of the Year 8 consecutive years in a row before her arrest in 2012.
That's crazy. Oh my goodness.
So she was really, really into horse breeding, and she was taking all the money she needed to do it properly because she was winning awards and her horses were winning.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least she wasn't breeding losers.
I'm looking it up right now. There are some beautiful horses on their Webley website. I'm not sure if this is exactly theirs.
No, that is, I think, one in California called RC Quarter Horses.
Okay.
Unfortunate for them, like, or maybe fortunate because maybe people looking for that one, looking for Ritas, find them, and they're like, oh.
Man.
But yeah, I saw that website. It has like a little family on it with some. Yeah, they're in California. Okay, so now most of the residents of Dixon just assume she either inherited her wealth or that the horse breeding business was just so profitable in its own right that she was making that kind of money. At the time of her arrest, she owned 400 horses. Now, they were housed between her ranch, which was on Red Brick Road in Dixon, the Mary J. Ranch in Beloit, Wisconsin, as well as with various trainers across the country. Now, in addition to the horses and all of their equipment that she had bought with Dixon's money, she also had 2 residences and a horse farm in Dixon, a home in Inglewood, Florida, 80 acres of vacant land in Lee County, a 2009 luxury motorhome, which was like millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands, more than 4 dozen trucks, trailers, and other motorized farm vehicles, a 05 '05 Ford Thunderbird convertible, a 67 Chevy Corvette Roadster, a pontoon boat, jewelry, and approximately $224,898 in cash from 2 bank accounts. Now, the government seized all her property and her horses. So, I'm gonna again ask you to give your estimate on how much the government spent taking care of the horses before they were able to auction them off.
Oh man, 419 horses?
It just says 400. Just 400 even is what it says. Yeah.
Okay. 400 horses. Oh my gosh. I would say that
per month. I'm gonna make it easy. How much do you think they were spending per month?
Okay, per month, I would say probably like 10,000, 15,000 per month.
15,000 per month? Final answer?
Yes.
You poor sweet boy. Do you live in 1959? Okay, obviously V doesn't know how much it costs to take care of a quarter horse.
Absolutely not.
Because the government spent approximately $200,000 per month.
Oh my gosh.
Caring for the horses before they were sold at auction.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Now you can imagine the kind of money Rita was spending to take care of them, because I'm pretty sure she loved the horses.
Yeah.
As opposed to the government, who was just forced to take care of them because they took them to get the assets.
Yeah, that's $5,000 a month per horse. That's crazy.
Lot.
Wow.
You know the government is so mad at her.
Oh yeah.
We're trying to recoup money and we're spending $200,000 a month for these raggedy horses.
You're right. Oh my God.
Horses are sweet and majestic. I like horses. So.
Horses are beautiful.
They are. They're kind of scary though. I was on a farm and they had kind of wild horses because nobody was living on the farm for some years. Mm-hmm. So the horses were just out doing their thing, but they were semi-wild. So they would come up to you, mm-hmm. let you put a saddle on them, let you brush them, let you do all kind of things to them. But they were running really fast. And, yeah. They had a little mind of their own. They were out doing their own thing. They didn't want to be. They wanted to be free.
Yeah, they want to be held down.
No, but if you had apples and stuff, they would come and eat out your hand. They were sweet, but they liked their freedom.
Yeah.
All right. Huh? How did it unravel?
How did it unravel?
Let me tell you. Here's how it finally unraveled. Kathy Swanson, the hero of this story. She was a city clerk that reported to Rita.
Mm-hmm.
So while Rita was out at a horse show, she was on like an extended vacation. Now, one of the research pages that I looked at said that she got 4 weeks of paid vacation per year. But with all the money she was stealing, she usually took an additional 12 weeks of unpaid vacation, like to do the horse shows and go to breedings and competitions and things like that. So she basically only worked half a year.
Oh my gosh, Rita.
So, I mean, I'm very surprised that it took them 20 years to put this together.
Yeah.
But thanks to Kathy, who is the embodiment of if you see something, say something, was working diligently while Rita was out gallivanting with her horses. And she realized she needed to do her treasurer's report. So she requested information from the bank. They faxed it, and she saw this secret account with money coming in and money going out. She didn't recognize the name of the account. Didn't know why the bank had sent it to her. So what did she do? She reported to the mayor, Mayor James Burke, who in turn called the FBI. Kathy and Mayor Burke were not playing around.
No.
So for 6 months, the FBI, Kathy, and Mayor Burke quietly watched Rita take at least $2.3 million from the city. 6 months, $2.3 million.
Oh my
Rita,
goodness.
she had a racket going on.
Just relentless.
Really,
Gosh.
like zero cooling off period. As soon as she came back from vacation, she was like, all right, let me get some more money in this. So they watched her for 6 months before finally arresting her in April of 2012. I think like Kathy had to come into work. This is her boss who she reports to.
Mm.
You know, she probably came in like, oh, good morning, Kathy. Good morning, Rita. You dirty bitch. Like,
Yeah. Knowing what she's doing and Rita's acting
Right.
like, la-di-da-di-da.
right, like how's the horses?
Yeah.
Asshole. So
Man.
now Dixon's operating budget was only about $10 million a year. And from the time she started to steal, the city had about a $10 million in a fund balance. So they were like $10 million in the black as far as their balance.
Mm.
And this is coming from Paula Mayer, who is Dixon's current finance director. By the time she was arrested, they were $22 million in debt.
Oh my gosh. Jeez.
So, to wrap this up, the former comptroller of the city of Dixon, Rita A. Crundwell, was sentenced in November 2012 to 19 years and 7 months, which is like basically the maximum. The maximum was 20 years in federal prison for stealing $53.7 million from the city over 2 decades.
Rita had way more money than they were even in debt for.
Right, and it doesn't seem like Rita had been married and she got divorced before she started all of this. She got divorced like in the late 80s.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't say she had any children. So she was basically using all the city's money to buy these expensive horses because she wanted to be a horse breeder.
Man, and you
And
like,
going to competitions. They made a movie about this called like All the Queen's Horses,
mm-hmm.
which, you know, goes into it. There's been books written about this. Like, there were pictures of like all her trophies that were being auctioned off by the government, and it was just like a warehouse with like trophies all over the floor.
Wow.
Because, I mean, she was buying and breeding very good horse stock.
That's crazy.
They were selling horse semen, actual horses, her trophies, her equipment, like anything they could get their hands on to try to like get the money back for Dixon.
Yeah. And her dream was to become a horse breeder, and she did by any means necessary to become a horse breeder.
I hope it was worth it, because when she got arrested, she was in her like early to mid 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much a life sentence, 19 and a half years, or 19 years and 7 months, yeah.
Yeah. Wow, man. So what's real funny is that I almost picked that case.
Really?
Yeah, like I saw that. I saw when I was looking up, while I was going through like different investment cases, that was one of the ones that popped up because of how like massive it was. And I almost picked that one. But I changed course like drastically.
Okay.
And went way back in time to the United Kingdom. And so right now we're going to be talking about Jabez Balfour.
What's that name again?
Jabez.
Wow.
He is an Englishman. Jabez was born back in September 4th of the year 1843.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're not going too far back.
No, not super far back, but still enough to make an impact, because when you hear this tale, you'll be pretty amazed. So start from the beginning. Jabez was the son of James and Clara Balfour. James Balfour was a House of Commons messenger. So he was he's had a pretty good job as a messenger. Like, it's pretty normal kind of like thing back in the 1800s. But his mother was a philanthropic, temperance, campaigner, lecturer, and author. So his mother had like many accolades.
Oh, kind of like your mom.
Yeah, kind of like my mom. Shout out to Tracy Fan, Freedom Fighters, upstate South Carolina, doing a lot of work in the community and the outskirts of the community too. She will come to you. And Jabez's name is actually from the Old Testament, and Jabez translates to "he makes sorrowful."
Oh, kind of ironic.
Yeah, like that's kind of like
A
foreshadow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all right, so from all that, Jabez is born. He grows up and also goes to a life of politics. So instead of being a messenger for the House of Commons, he becomes a Justice Party member, a member of Parliament, and also he was involved in 14 other directorships, which is just crazy. Like 14, that's a lot to keep up with. But he was elected as mayor of Croydon for a year back in 1883. So he was in his 40s when that happened. But during this, he was also the Liberal member of Parliament for Tamsworth between 1880 and 1885. And then after a break from the House of Commons, he then stood for and took a seat at Burnley as its member of Parliament from 1889 to 1893. I keep want to say 19 because it just makes more sense to say 19 instead of 18. So Balfour was a member of the Congregationalist Church and had many contacts around the nonconformist community in Britain. But beneath all his responsibility, he was a fraudster. And since he had so much control in his 14 directorships, he created this thing called the Liberator Building Society. And so he built this place. Well, he had this place built, and he had investors invest in it. And so, it was gigantic. It blew up real big. He had about 1.7 million of Britain's nonconformists involved in it, as
Wow.
in either investors, just participants, just all these people. 1.7 million people back in 1890.
That's like half the world.
Yeah, exactly. It was crazy. And then in 1892, about 2 years after he built the Liberator, he then started scandals around kind of like the outskirts of London and its bank, General Bank, and then within the building society itself. And through all of this, he used the money I haven't said how much. I wouldn't say how much he did yet, but he used his money to give to lend to home buyers to get properties for buying land and buildings. So just like around the UK, he had just property and buildings like all over the place.
Well, I mean, it seems like he was trying to build up the city, or that's what impression he was giving off.
That was the impression he was giving off for sure. Yeah. And so through all of this, there was an inspector named Frank Forrest who was kind of like suspicious of like how Balfour was getting the funds to buy property and buildings because like the one Liberator Building Society is one thing, but to go and get like numerous properties around and buildings around, it's like, okay, like where's this gentleman getting all of his funding from? Because the investors are investing in the one building. They're not investing for him to buy other places like privately.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. So Frank Forrest started investigating it, and Balfour, and this happened in 1895. So another 2 years after this, another 3 years after this, and Balfour got like word of it. So Balfour left the country, but guess where he went? So we're in the United Kingdom in the 1890s.
Right.
So guess where he went? Anywhere in the world. Just guess anywhere.
I want to say probably somewhere super close to the UK, like when you should have been like maybe Australia. He went to like Ireland.
Balfour went to Argentina.
Oh, smart.
He went to South America, Argentina.
Very different climate too.
Very different, yeah. And so after Forrest was like onto him, Forrest had to do more investigating to figure out where he went. And then he saw one of his properties were in Argentina because like all the other properties, like he was thinking like, they're probably too obvious to go to.
Right.
So he went to Argentina because like he got word that there was like, there was a private boat leaving the country to go south. And so from that, he was like, okay, going south, and he has a property in Argentina. So he has to be going to Argentina. So Forrest left Southampton, United Kingdom, which is like kind of like, it's kind of like, if you look at the United Kingdom, it's like south, but on the east side.
Okay.
So going from there, had to go all the way, like almost 5,000 miles, I think, to Argentina. And so when he got to Buenos Aires, Forrest caught him, but then after, the extradition of communication, like waiting days and days to get responses, they were held up by legal work. And so Forrest was like, you know what? No. So it said that he took reckless action and simply bundled Balfour into a train and then on a boat and then back to the United Kingdom.
So he was like, screw the system.
Yeah,
I'm kidnapping you and bringing you back.
Yeah, because Frank was like, he was onto him like early on, and then he did all this work to travel half the world to go get Balfour. And next thing you know, the English government's like, well, we have to do this paperwork. There are certain systems we have to go through for this sort of thing. If he was stealing money from us, Frank was like, no. We're coming back to the country, and I'm talking to you. Like, we're gonna do this trial face to face. And so because like he was not having it.
Frank was like, fuck this red tape. Get on this boat. You're getting your comeuppance.
Yeah, exactly. So you will pay for what you've done. I'm not waiting around for these mugs to get on their stuff.
He's like the Walker Texas Ranger of the UK.
Yeah, seriously.
Vigilante justice.
Yeah, I wonder if he was like, created as like an Englishman with a cowboy hat and a revolver in his hip and stuff. Because it sounds like it's pretty hardcore.
Really?
So for the trial. So when they got back to the United Kingdom, they faced trial at the Old Bailey. So
wait. So he kidnapped this man from Argentina, brought him back, and the English government was like, meh, okay. Like, They weren't like, hey, no, we had paperwork we had to do. This is not legal. They were like, okay, you got him here. Let's put him on trial.
Like I have a feeling that that Mr. Froes was like a loose cannon on the inspector team. Like he just like all these cases, like he's been great on his cases, but he's always like been outlandish, and like his commissioner has been like, you can't do this, Frank, not this time. He's like, I do it my way.
Canyon, Frank.
Exactly. He's like, I'll do this my way if you want it taken care of. And then he just goes and get it done.
Damn it, Frank.
Exactly.
You can't keep doing this.
Exactly. But like Frank's just like, I'm getting the job done. I'm getting results in. What you gonna do? Fire me? I'm sure he got fired eventually, but for doing this kind of stuff. But at this time, they let it slide and they put Balfour under trial.
Well, kudos, Frank.
Yeah, Frank got the job done for sure. So, in pounds, in the year 18, well, let me see. It was from 1889 to 1895. So a 6-year span. In British pounds, how much do you think he was indebted to pay back?
Okay, so over 6 years, he was building multiple properties, was buying properties outside the country. So I'm going to say in the 1800s, if he stole 1 million, that would be crazy. So if it was so much that he immediately hopped on a boat and went to South America, I'm gonna say 20 million.
20 million?
Yes.
Okay, that's a good guess, but it's lower. It's 7 million. I was expecting you to aim low, but you aimed high. But kudos though.
Well, since you gave me an amount, 7 million pounds then. Wait.
With all this inflation.
Okay, wait. Million has 9 zeros?
6.
Sweet baby Jesus, do you know how much that would be?
What is the current inflation?
Okay, I did it in 1895 because that was the last year. So 7 million pounds in 1895 would be 477,154.10 in 2020.
Mr. Balfour was the richest person in the world, basically, after doing this kind of stunt.
I believe.
But he didn't have all his money at once. That was just the amount that he was indebted to, because that's the equivalent of what he stole and how much he cost the government leading up to this. So he didn't actually steal 7 million pounds. That's just how much he owed because of that.
But still, that's like almost $1 billion today.
Almost $1 billion, yeah. That's a massive case. So with that amount in mind, how much do you think he was how long do you think he was sentenced to?
7 million in 1895. Was he sentenced to death? Did they hang him? Well, no, then they wouldn't have got their money back. Okay. From all the crime things that I listen to, the UK is kind of lenient. So usually it's like usually it's like life with the possibility of parole in 25 years. So that's what I'm gonna go with.
Okay. That would be very cruel, because they gave him 14 years.
Oh, wow.
They gave him 14 years. So he was released in 1906. He was released in the year 1906, so he got out early. He only served 11 years.
Well, kudos.
And then after that, he became a mining consultant. So he was off the political boards, like all the 14 directorships, because of course he's a traitor. He can't be trusted now. But he somehow found a job as a mining consultant in Wales. So he still was in the area, and he was able to get work again. And he died 10 years after that. So in 1916, he died. But at that point, though, he was in the 70s. So
Yeah.
he just kind of died of natural causes.
Well, that was really interesting. I mean, to steal that kind of money in that time, like 1800s,
Mm-hmm.
that was pretty badass. Like, I wonder, like, how he was doing it. Like,
I honestly don't know because, like, you know, like how things are today, like, you know, we have electronic wiring and stuff like that, like
right.
those kind of methods. But back then, I don't know what he could have been doing.
That was like, well, depending on, well, they factored in what he cost the government too, so almost like $1 million a year.
Yeah. Here's what's crazy. He also had a wife, a son, and grandchildren. So he had his son was born. Wait a second. Yeah, his son was born in 1868.
Mm-hmm.
So he's had his grandchildren by now because like this was like 28 years after that. So he had wife, son, and grandchildren, but he just like peace, went to Argentina by himself. So he was doing some shady stuff and just like left his family behind.
Well, I mean, really, would you want to be dragged across the world to a place where you don't speak the language because your father did some stupid shit?
No, I wouldn't. I would not.
Now, I mean, he could have took his wife. It's not like he had babies. Like,
yeah, exactly.
He had old kids. He left his wife. Maybe he heard that the ladies in Argentina were pretty, so
possibly, yeah. Go there
like,
as
new life, here I come.
Yeah, go there as a thousandaire.
A single thousandaire.
But yeah, that was Jabez Balfour. He was a very, very, very interesting man.
So, did it say how long he was in Argentina before Frank caught up with him? Because I feel like Frank was like hot on his trail the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Frank had a sea-doo like out in the water because he wasn't fucking around.
So all right. So over here it says like in 1892 he was at the center of a scandal over the failure of a series of companies which he had set up and controlled. And so like in 1892 is when he started like failing at like, you know, his scheme. And somewhere between then and then 1895 is when Frank caught him. So
he wasn't there long. Like, that's only 3 years at the most.
Yeah, 3 years at the most if like he left like immediately. But I have no idea though. But somehow, and what's crazy to me is like how Frank even got him. Argentina is a huge country. That's a giant place. That's a giant place. How? Well, I guess if they know the location of the property that he purchased, then I guess I'll narrow it down.
It probably wasn't hard to spot. You know, he probably wasn't difficult to pick out of a crowd.
Yeah, he'll be the only like fair-skinned one around in the crowd.
And Frank was probably paying bounty hunters and doing things under the table because he is a loose cannon. Who knows how he accessed all this information?
Yeah, cause probably just went like to the property like tax place in the UK. Just like slammed his hand down. Was like, "Do you know who I am? I need these papers immediately." And the person at desk was probably like nervous, saying like, "You know, you need to take a number and have a seat." He's like, "I need these now." Like, you know, punching walls and stuff. There's no telling what Frank was doing.
A lady in a little swivel chair. He just pushed her chair out of the way. He's like, "I'll do it."
Yeah. Oh man, we really want to see how Frank looks now. See if Frank's as crazy as we make him out to be.
Frank was about truth, injustice, and the United Kingdom way.
He was a British detective and crime writer.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, he's bald with a handlebar mustache. He doesn't look intimidating at all. But this man, he was able to get the job done.
Kudos to you, Frank.
His books have cool artwork too. Oh man. Okay, so in closing, what do you have to say if politicians happen to listen to our podcast and are thinking about, taking a little bit more under their table. Because my embezzler got 14 years in prison. Your embezzler got 19 years in prison.
Right.
Those aren't really long times, but it is like, a quarter of your life, 20 years. You're missing out on time, missing out time with your family if you have a family, missing time out with your horses if you have 400 horses.
Yeah. No longer winning championships.
Yeah, that'd be the most heartbreaking thing, to know your horses are just like chilling, getting fed every day, not working, not, being active. Imagine if you had dogs and you had someone dog sit them and your dogs are just like in the house, go out to pee, back in the house. Like, you'd be pretty sad.
Yeah, like, cause they weren't being taken care of. Like, she knew every horse's name,
Mm-hmm.
knew their favorite little treats,
Mm-hmm.
walked up and petted all of them, like brushed them all down.
There's their pride and joy, but they got acquired by the government.
And we're probably just put into horrible little stalls and costing the government money and getting dirty looks.
I wonder if in the 19th century, if that's how repossession was. It's like, we're gonna take your horse. Repo your cars, repo your horse. Oh man, that'd be terrible.
That would be terrible. But what I would say to these politicians, in the words of the immortal DMX, you've been eating long enough now. Stop being greedy. Let's keep it real, partner. Give to the needy.
Oh man, that's deep right there. That's deep. DMX speaks true.
He does.
Once again. Man, that's some interesting stories there. That's true crime at its finest right there, when they're working in the shadows, behind the scenes. Like, it's never a victimless crime when you're stealing from an entire civilization of people.
Right, because these city workers and streets weren't getting paved in Dixon. The city workers weren't being paid. They weren't getting raises anymore. Mm-hmm. It's another one of those crimes that just really has a ripple effect. Like, how many people are actually, hurt by what you're doing. You think you're just stealing money. But, even in your case, I'm pretty sure that there were things that were not being done because he was using the money to build these buildings that he wanted. Yeah,
these investors, in the United Kingdom, some of them could have been born into wealth, but then the other ones could have been really hardworking people. It's right. I believe this guy. I'm a nonconformist and I believe what he's going for. I want to support this liberal building, liberal society building. I want to be a part of this organization.
Right.
I sell tonics to, raise my sick son, but I'm going to give this man a half of my wealth so that we can build this building. I want to invest in this. The money's gone now. Left me penniless.
And his son was sick.
Yeah, and I'm all out of elixir bottles. I can't buy those anymore in bulk from Sam's Club.
Damn, Balfour. Look at what you did. You killed that little boy.
You killed a little boy. That's why Frank grabbed him by his neck and took him on a boat.
I applaud you, Frank. It's a dirty job, but somebody has to do it. And you were getting it done.
Getting it done. Oh, man. So, that concludes our episode for us realizing that we shouldn't be talking about political sleaze, but here we are anyway.
We have done it. This was episode 4?
Episode 4, yeah.
Wow, we are just rolling along with the momentum of a speed train.
Yeah, and we super appreciate the people that are listening to our podcast right now. We're very fresh on board, 2020. This is just begun.
Yes, and let me give a shout out to our very first 5-star review on Apple iTunes from your new best friend podcast. Thank you so much. I listen to your podcast. I enjoy it. It's like eavesdropping on a super funny conversation with people who you want to be your friends for real.
Yeah, well, with that review, I want to be their best friend already, so they are my new best friend.
And again, thanks to all the listeners. If you want to suggest any cases, feel free to send them to weshouldn'ttalkaboutthis@gmail.com. You can hit us up at WSTAT_pod on Twitter and Instagram. And that's it.
Yeah, that is all. Yeah. Be sure to tune in to our social media pages to see images of our embezzlers, because while they are terrible people, we should always remember their faces, because they're normal everyday people. They just happen to be in politics and happen to got greedy.
Yeah, and please subscribe, rate, review. We are on all major podcaster sites and the minor ones as well.
Mm-hmm.
So please leave us some 5-star ratings if you feel so in your heart.
Yeah.
We definitely appreciate it, and it helps us out more than you know.
Thank you so much. I'm V.
And I'm Keaton.
And thanks for listening to what we talk about.